Good evening. Would you all stand with me for the invocation and pledge of allegiance, please? So we have some business to do this evening that's not very fun. We have to declare Councilman Tom Azinger's seat open this evening. And so I told this story the other day because I received a call from County Commissioner Bob Teavee, and Bob Teavee said that he and Tom Azinger were in the same Boy Scout troop, and that Bob was in charge, and that Tom gave the invocation at every meeting. And so before they would eat, Tom had a prayer that he liked to say, and I'd like to do that in Tom's honor this evening. And it goes just like this. Praise the Lord and Holy Ghost. He who eats the fastest gets the most. Amen. All right. Councilman Leach, if you would lead us in the pledge.
Please join me.
There you go.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to call to order this regular session of the Vienna City Council for July the 25th, 2024. Let the record reflect that I've taken roll, and that all members of council are present this evening, with the exception of Councilman Bibby, and he is absent. First thing on our agenda this evening is a fun thing. So we're going to recognize the 14 and under softball league champions. With us this evening is Mr. Jeff Slusher, who is the president of Vienna Rec, and our liaison to the Vienna Rec as well, Mrs. Elam.
Jeff, will you tell us a little bit about the Pioneer League? So we, our softball team participates in a larger league. It's not just Vienna Rec, right?
It's not just Vienna Rec, but this team is one of few that represents Vienna Rec in the 14 and under for Pioneer Valley Girls Softball Organization. They did a good bit of traveling. They played in a really tough tournament. 2 back-to-back nail biters to finish out the playoffs and the championship, and they did a great job. They should be very, very proud of themselves.
So girls, will you come on up? I'm going to have you guys kind of stand kind of here so that we can see you and they can see you. How's that? Excellent. No pressure. No pressure. No pressure. All right. Somebody give me a highlight of the tournament or the season.
It was stressful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was unfortunately not there at the second to last game, but my parents were, and just getting the messages my mother was giving me, it was nerve-wracking.
Where were the games played? Where was the final tournaments played?
At Vienna.
In Vienna.
Vienna hosted the championship game this season.
Excellent, excellent. Wonderful. Good.
What can you tell us about that line, the two-run hit to score the last play? The one that won the championship. Well, tell us about it.
Speak for it. Nice and loud.
Anyway, the last inning, down by 1 run, they scored a double to take it home and win.
Excellent, excellent. Good job, girls. We're proud of you. We're really glad that you represented Vienna well, and our fields represented Vienna well, so thank you very much. We're glad that you had a great season. So we're going to hand out some certificates for you. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, coaches. What do you have?
Yep.
All right, come on up here.
Yeah.
Jamie.
All right. How about if you call them out and I'll deliver them and shake your hand? How's that? Sure. Okay? All right. Excellent.
We talked about having to travel, and a lot of parents don't like traveling, but anyone been to Jacksonburg, West Virginia? No. How about Shoreline, West Virginia? There are several teams up and around New Martinsville. You go to Martinsville, turn right and go back in the boonies, another 20 minutes or so. And believe it or not, both those, Jacksonburg and Fort Line, had nice new fields that they somehow found sponsors that were really nice. I was really expecting playing a cow pasture. But it was actually, plus we played at Sardis, Ohio, and New Martinsville, but just all over up there. I enjoyed it. Normally, when we played in leagues back here, when you get an older age bracket, you may have 4 teams in the bracket, and that's not a very good league when you're playing the same teams over and over again. We had 10 teams in the 14 and under group for the Pioneer League. The 8s, 10s, and 12s had 20 to 28 teams. So it's actually a pretty nice league and ran very well. And the other thing I'd like to say, Jeff did a great job. Anytime we need anything, Jeff would answer immediately, and we'd get an answer. And he'd have to come down and come off the restrooms every time we needed him unlocked. So that's kind of taxing to be in charge of doing that, but we all appreciated it. But as far as the team, everybody, even our younger girls, less experienced girls, really started picking up and making plays that you don't normally see. Where the whole team contributed, so I'm proud of every one of them. Here's Rose.
Abby Miller, is that?
Oh, that's Abby, I'm sorry. I didn't know you had the name.
Do you want to go by a different one, or what do you want to go by? Okay, is that good?
Alexis.
Alexis, congratulations.
We have several girls on vacation that took off after the season ended. There's Emmy.
But they were dedicated. They put off their vacation until after. They rescheduled their vacation so that they could play the championship.
I got several on vacation and 2 of Raymond Meyer's granddaughters. They're at church camp. Both of them on there. Here's Riley's.
All right.
Now here's Rose.
Rose, there we go.
Now, in our semifinal game, Raiden Walker is one of the girls that really picked up. She's at church camp, but we were down a couple runs. We went into overtime, so we were playing an extra innings, and we were in the 8th inning, and she got up to bat with the girl in second and third with 2 outs. She hits a line drive to the outfield, scores 2 runs. So we ended it bottom of the 8th inning, and we talked about a tense game. Then the very next night, on Friday night, we had the same situation. We're down by 1, 2 outs, and Rose was up to bat. Rose, my granddaughter, had 2 strikes on her, and then she hits a line drive, scores 2 winning runs in it. But to have two of those games go like that, it was a nail biter. Sierra.
I think all of them have one. Yeah. So.
There's one they wrote up for Coach
Oh,
Jay.
Coach. All right. How about that, Jay? There you go. You're welcome.
Mike, you can have mine. Well, here's mine. It's trophy.
Yeah, I got you.
I would like to get your picture.
Hey, Dave, before you leave, would you give Raymond Myers his granddaughters?
Sure.
Raymond?
Maybe you want to come up and pick up theirs? Hold on.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
Bailey. There's Brady's. Thank you for taking care of them.
Raymond? Don't leave, Raymond. Raymond,
Raymond.
don't leave. So Raymond must have a lot more talent in his family, okay? Because his grandson just went and was named an All-American wrestler, only 2, Dominic Way, and I'm sorry, I don't remember your grandson's first name now. Emmett Myers. All-Americans from right here. And so, congratulations, Raymond. Quite an honor for you and your family. All right, so the first item on our agenda this evening is our public forum, and we have 8 people that have signed up to speak this evening. So we will start the evening with Mr. Steve Kaiser.
First of all, thanks for not calling me Sam tonight, but I
That's okay. You're welcome.
figured out why you called me Sam.
Okay, why?
Sam Elliott.
Ah, there you go. That must be it. That must be it.
Okay, so I have kind of one issue that I'm really focused on, and the reason I showed up for the last couple of meetings. And last week we had a town hall, and that was very useful just to fill in the rest of my knowledge on the whole school situation. So having attended the last city council meeting and town hall on 16 July, I've now got enough information on the proposed new school, and I want to comment on the site because I asked a couple of engineering questions at both meetings. I'm going to talk about what some other people have pointed out to me that I've talked to, and I want to talk about our approach to negotiating with the school board. Okay, so I'm not an amateur. I'll tell you that. I've been in real estate development for about 20 years. I was an executive at Thermo Fisher for about 25 years. For the last 20 years, I've been involved with hotels. Some of them around here you might know. I was the board chair over at the Southeastern Ohio Port Authority for a while, so I know a little bit about economic development. Some people know me as the managing partner of the Town Place Marriott downtown on 7th Street, which we developed out of the Uptowner Inn. In case you ever have any questions about asbestos in buildings and restoring old buildings, I know a little bit about that. So the proposed site, I think, is far from ideal, and there's some things here about the topography and the water drainage that I think should be considered about this property. In order to get a new site on this building, it's a really long building. That site's not as big as it looks, and I think when you saw the rendering, that's not what it's going to sit like on that site very well. For one thing, there's I'm guessing about, I don't know if there's anybody here from Pickering that knows this, but there's about a 20-foot fill between the ball fields and that building. Are you guys aware of that? Or, I mean, it's massive. Can you show up there? I only have a black and white printer at home, so that's what it looks like. But from where I'm standing, I'm down by the property line, which is right at the edge of the ballpark. You'd need to go about 20 feet right there. You can't, though, because there's a driveway that's right here next to the ballpark, so you really can't do what they said they're going to do on the plan. It's not going to sit the way that it says it's going to sit. The other thing about this site that's not very good is the water. When you look at the topography here, I don't think this is really covered, at least in any meetings I've been at. This is the drawing that we were given, and it does have some. You can see a little bit about what's going on here, but what we're looking at here, when you talk about water on a site like this, what you're looking at is everything, especially in this site right here, where the school's going to be. All this water drains straight down at the school. Water drains from the top of the hill down, and from 3 directions here. It's going this way. And this way, and this way, and this thing here is going to produce a whole bunch of water. When you put a building in there, you have the pad of the building, you have the parking lots, and a lot of area there, it's not absorbing water anymore, and you're trying to pick up all that water. It's going to get, when you do this with a building site, it gets collected and concentrated, ends up in a pipe, and it has to go down to a lower level because that's what happens. The Pickering guys, I think they even put retention ponds on the wrong side of the building here, so what they're talking about was kind of bizarre to me because retention ponds are downhill from where the water is. So there's some stuff going on here that I think needs a heck of a lot more work before you agree with Pickering that this site is okay. There's some questionable things here. There's almost no rainwater in this park right now. It's all just on the ground. It's going to be a massive problem once all this other plumbing to get the water off this site is put in. It's going to drain right down onto the ball fields. And because you have to build a hill between the school where it is and down to the ballparks, you're going to have a pretty bad water situation with any kind of good rain down there. Pickering kind of conveniently told us at the last meeting that they hadn't completed the drainage plans. Saying that they're only 30% done is kind of a way to hedge things. Maybe things they don't want to tell us. It should be engineering malpractice to approve a site for a school when you haven't done more than 30% work and you're calculating rainwater management. I would want to know a heck of a lot more than that. We shouldn't accept that. It's kind of not diligent on our part to do that. I think the stormwater on that site is really tougher than people think. You can build anything with time and money, and I think if you're the school district, yeah, it's a nice site, but this is not. It's going to cost us a lot of money for all the things, the peripheral things that go on around this thing. The stoplight, I've kind of wrapped my head around that. I understand that, but I think if we can arrange for that thing to be blinking yellows after hours and during the summer and times when it's not needed, I think that's pretty important because there's a lot of traffic through there at off hours and no reason to tie that all up when you got people traveling downtown, doctors going to the hospital at 1 in the morning. We don't want to do that to people. And, I like to go to Dunkin' Donuts at 6:30 in the morning. And I don't want to go to a red light right there. So,
Mr. Kaiser,
yes.
I apologize, sir. This is not like the town hall. You get 5 minutes and your 5 minutes are up, sir.
Okay. Well, hope somebody will talk to me because I don't want us to make a serious mistake.
Thank you. Roger Wilcox.
Roger Wilcox, 601 20th Street in Vienna. Once again, I thank you, Mayor and Council, for me to speak this evening. My big concern and my topic for this evening is Spencer's Landing. My wife and I had the opportunity to go down there when the carnival was there and the rodeo and everything, and we really enjoyed it. Then we went up above, across the street from the old Manville plant, and enjoyed the little park up there. But as we sat up there, I was watching the traffic, the people, and I said, there's something wrong here, but I don't quite figure it out. So we watched and observed, and then it dawned on me, the railroad. The railroad tracks being that close to the rodeo and everything, in my opinion, the amphitheater should not be built there for that reason and that reason only. God forbid that something should happen when there's nobody down there, but you build an amphitheater and maybe have 2,000 or 3,000 people and something take place, and these people are trapped down there. So I say no to the amphitheater. That's just my opinion on that. So I would think very carefully when the time comes, you make a decision to build that or not to build it. And thank you for your time.
Tony Morrison.
Tony Morrison, 1210 15th Street. Mayor, Council, thanks for the opportunity to speak. There's several items on the agenda tonight that I'd really love to discuss, but as I was thinking about this, it somehow just didn't seem right to me. So I thought a better use of my 5 minutes this evening was to tell Council and Vienna my Tom Azinger story. I'll start by saying that I didn't know Tom as well as I would have liked. But I really have enjoyed reading all the stories about his life over the last couple of weeks. See, when I first met Tom, it was November 2020, and I called him up to rent a storage unit. And I told him that I only needed it for a couple of months. And looking back, I'm sure he heard that all the time. But he asked if I had a lock, and I said no. And he kind of looked at me and looked me up and down. He says, "You look like a trustworthy guy. I'll let you borrow one." So he let me borrow a lock for the unit. And then for the next 3 years, I'd either drop a check in Tom's front door or mail him one from Kansas. And it got to where I was, paying 3, 4, 5 months at a time just out of convenience. But at one point in time, I had actually completely forgotten to make the payment. It had nearly been 2 months at that point, and whenever I realized it, I called him up kind of in a panic, and I was like, "Tom, I'm so sorry. I'm sending the check out today. You'll have it in a couple of days. I apologize. And he just kind of said, "Oh, you're okay. No problem at all." He was very kind. not easily agitated. He could have yelled at me. He could have scorned me. He could have threatened to sold all my junk at auction, and I don't think any of that ever really crossed his mind. A few months later, I told him that we were moving out of the unit, and he sent my wife and I a message and said, according to their records, we still owed a little bit of rent. And I told him that our records showed that we were paid in full, but I was going to request my last 3 years' bank statements. I was going to go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and I said, if I still owe you anything, 100%, I will make it right with you. And to which he responded, oh, I'm sure you're right. I'm not the best at keeping records. Tom, he was so humble and always putting other people before himself. And that's the sign of a true public servant. And see, I believe that everyone here in this room tonight is here for that same reason, to serve our city. We're all doing what we each believe in our hearts is what's best for the city and its citizens. And I think it's important that each of us recognize that fact. See, we each have our own ideas of what a perfect Vienna should look like. And I know we might not always agree, but that's okay. We can all respect the fact that in the end, we are serving the community. We can respect each other enough to acknowledge what's best for the city is always our driving motivation to be here. And it's important that we all work together toward that end, sharing our ideas, sharing resources, experiences, whether by speaking in the public forum or sitting in one of these chairs or volunteering for one of the committees or the organizations or the festivals. It's all relevant. See, Tom Azinger was certainly for the city of Vienna. And the last thing I want to say is I was reading his obituary last week about his extraordinary life of service. I got to the bottom and it said, in lieu of flowers, please make a donation to the Vienna Volunteer Fire Department. Tom was a public servant for the city of Vienna, even in death. And we should all strive to be as committed a man as Thomas J. Azinger. Rest in peace, Tom. Thank you.
It's not that easy, Tony. Did you give him his lock back? Yes, you did. Good man. Brenda Powell.
Sure, how well you can see? It's pretty good. Good evening. My name is Brenda Powell, and I live on 31st Street here in Vienna. I'm thankful to have the opportunity to be here this evening to just bring up a few things. Over the several years that I've attended meetings, and there has been a lot of input from the community that has been requested by the city from the people to what they'd like to see on Spencer's Landing. Colored flyers were sent out for everyone to give their input and to return it to the city building for review. This has been going on for quite some time, and nothing had been really chosen but an amphitheater. That's mostly what was discussed. In 2022, Jim Christie from CEC, which was the Civil and Environmental Consultants, presented to council a master plan for the parks here in Vienna. The cost paid to him for those services and a digital project flip book with changes that the citizens suggested to be implemented in the park over time was not considered. It's not even on the city's website anymore. It shows it there, but when you click on it, there's nothing available. So we really have nothing to compare it to. There's also Nathan Tanner, He actually did a diagram sketch, and it was over here for the longest time, years. And it's not been considered. And even Councilman Mancuso, he actually put forth a diagram too, or laid out what Spencer's Landing should have and or could have, and presented before council, and it was approved. But yet, it's not being considered. I'm not at this point, but I'm hoping that sometime all of these things will come together, and that they will be used as it can be. Maybe not all of it, but some of it. This is the picture here that I've put here for my phone. We're not a huge metropolitan city. We're just not. We do okay within our state about our population and everything, but basically we need to consider what is something that will be productive and feasible and can be used for different things and have multi-purposes. This particular amphitheater here has got a handicap ramp on the back side, and it's got 2 entrances on each side with steps. My thought of it is, it could be used for a lot of things, and the city could actually rent it out on different things for different venues. It's just a way to make some money too. So it's something to think about as far as what you're wanting to do or approve or whatever the case may be regarding an amphitheater. We really need to think about what we can use it for, not just an amphitheater, but other things. I think it's great that Councilman Mancuso and Councilwoman Williams brought forth here in the resolution for tonight for a steering committee. I think it's a great thing to have, and I'm hoping that a lot of people, or quite a few people, might be interested in being on that committee. I know, for one, I would be. I would love to be on that committee, if that's something that would be feasible. But I do think that we need to keep the public updated and involved, and looking for a great turnout. Thank you.
Chad
Emmerich, and I am a Vienna resident. Before I begin, Tony, I just want to say thanks for sharing that story. I'm sure many people could share stories of Mr. Azinger. Everywhere I saw him, whether it was here, McDonald's, or at the shop, he just said, "Hey, Sarge." And it was just the way he greeted me day after day when I saw him. So thank you for sharing that. Good evening, Mayor and council members. This evening, I want to speak on items 3 and 4 of the agenda. And first, let me say, in no way is this a negative attack on the Thrasher Group or their proposal. They have provided the city exactly what they asked for, a very detailed and professional proposal. But with that said, I do oppose the expenditure of $43,000 on this that will cost our city. So you ask me, how can I approve of their product but not approve of their expense? Less than 2 months ago, members of this council adamantly opposed this when it was first discovered that it was going out to bid. Then when the Thrasher Group was selected, they again also adamantly approved at the selection process and how it was completed. And now it would appear that despite all of this, those that once opposed it are now on board, thus saying that the ends justifies the means. I believe this is an unnecessary expenditure due to the fact that through 2021 and 2022, CEC completed a very similar product that contains much of the same information. CEC conducted a town hall, they collected community input, they published official surveys, they provided all of the statistical data on our community, made recommendations on improvements, and set phased goals. Although I understand that this proposal would add additional information, I am not convinced that this administration will be any more successful at adhering to it than they did the last one. With capable leadership, there is more than enough information in the CEC product to achieve what we already know what our community desires. Just because something is shiny and new doesn't mean that it justifies spending even more money on it. I do not feel that spending this $43,000 is fiscally responsible. In relation to agenda item number 4, I am concerned at how it is written. The sponsors have already selected and listed all but 2 of the members. I do believe that we need a formalized committee and a process in which to select it. But we should first determine the justifications and requirements for membership, and also include when and how the meetings are conducted, with the public always being able to attend. These parks belong to our community, and our community should have a say in what is done. The personal agendas of a few should never take priority over the desires of the many.
Amy Rhodes.
Good evening. I'm Tammy Rhodes, and I live at 4604 6th Avenue. I want to talk about the Thrasher proposal, but I want to say that I am 100% on board for this, and I believe and I trust that the Thrasher Group will present a plan that the citizens of this city want. In my survey that I did, the Facebook survey, we received 365 responses. I think it was 285 responses the CEC had, and 180 from the city. So we've had a lot of information on what the citizens want. As much as I am supportive of the Thrasher Group, I am very concerned about the steering committee. The steering committee will have a lot of power in deciding the design plan. As I asked in a previous council meeting, is the steering committee going to base their decisions on public input and what the people want, or will they base their decisions on what they, as individuals with an agenda, want? The outcomes of these would be totally different. We know that there is a amphitheater committee that was started, and no one has any idea of the membership on that. The wants of the public and the wants of the few are completely, I just can't even understand how 2 sides can be so different. One wanting a 3,000 to 4,000 seat amphitheater, and everyone else wanting one that's in like Mr. Mancuso's proposal. I believe that the steering committee should be comprised of mostly city residents. What I would like to see is 3 city council members or employees. Mr. Mancuso, of course, because he has the experience, qualifications, and knowledge that no one else in the city has. Steve Black, as the head of the Parks Department, will eventually have responsibility for that park, and 1 other city person. Lindsay Pearsall with the Wood County Development Authority, and 6 residents of the city. This is public money that's going to be spent, or grants, however it ends up being funded. However, this should be a park for the people. And the people, the citizens, need to have some say on that steering committee to help formulate those decisions. I don't know if the Thrasher Group's here, but if they are, I'd like to hear about how they, in their experience, how a steering committee is normally developed, as well as the number and the composition of the committee. I have no knowledge of that. So I would like to see what they normally do in the process of developing other properties. The other thing that I want to say is I strongly believe that the steering committee should be open meetings. And this is from West Virginia Code 9A on the Open Meetings Act. And the steering committee would be considered a public agency, and this is the definition. It means any administrative or legislative unit, and municipal government is included, and any division, department, committee, subcommittee, and they name others, or any other agency or subunit of the foregoing authorized to, by law, exercise some portion of executive or legislative power. The members on the committee would be the governing body, and that's defined as members of any public agency having the authority to make decisions for or recommendations to a public agency or on policy or administration. The membership of the governing body consists of 2 or more members. A quorum would be present at those meetings. We know that's a simple majority. Meetings would be held and decisions would be discussed and decided in these meetings. The definition of meeting according to code means a convening of a governing body of a public agency in which a quorum is required in order to make a decision or to deliberate towards a decision on any matter which results in official action. The committee, as is said in the Thrasher proposal, will be making decisions. And that means any determination, action, vote, or final disposition of a motion, proposal, resolution, ordinance, or measure on which a vote of the governing body is required at any meeting at which a quorum is present. And then, of course, official action would be what the council takes. So I'm saying that I think that having open meetings for the steering committee would be required by law. And I think those meetings would be required to be published and posted. So I would like to ask, I know Mr. Skogstad is the city attorney. He doesn't work for me, but I would.
Are you about finished?
Yeah, I just.
You're out of time.
Okay.
But if you're about finished, we can.
No, actually, I was. I wanted to say in the contract part of that, there's a section on subsurface and the soil, and if it's tested and is found to be what's not expected, that's an extra cost, and I agree with that, as it should be. But I just want to make sure that the Thrasher Group is getting all the evidence on Spencer's Landing. And I know that we disagree, but I do have that email from Aaron Britton at the West Virginia DEP that says the land use covenants applies to the entire 7 acres. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you so much.
Is that a document that you created or something that you pulled out of state code?
This right here?
What you're referring to, yes, ma'am.
No, I did it.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
I should say this is verbatim. I didn't write it. I just typed it, but I typed it word for word.
Steve Skinner.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Stephen Stanner. I live at 3902 River Road, Vienna. I'd like to address council regarding the Thrasher proposal and thank you all for tabling that original one about 2 meetings ago. I'd also like to recognize the Thrasher for the professionalism in addressing the concerns raised at that meeting. In my opinion, the proposal before you today is laid out in a more detailed and includes specific deliverables that can be measured, as well as a reasonable timeline for the project's progress, start to finish. As is now, I would support council's passing it as presented. And the other item I wanted to talk about, I went also, like some of the residents here, I went to the recent town hall regarding the proposal from Wood County Schools to move the Vienna School out towards Rosemar and the city park out there. I didn't know what, when I first heard about that proposal and being out in that location, I was pretty adamantly opposed to it. I couldn't understand it, so that's why I went to the meeting. And I saw and heard many concerns from the citizens that I felt the school board and city did a good job of addressing. I didn't see or hear anyone from the mom and dad generation attending. That was very disappointing to me. Now on the proposal, I believe that if you approach it with an open mind, the proposed location has many more pros than cons compared to the alternative that has also been talked about at the current Vienna school location. Just think of the logistical and connected nightmare every day for vehicular traffic, buses, children, employees, and any visitors that would be heading into a new school area in the present Vienna school area. The worst folks impacted would be the residents in the surrounding area. Jackson Junior High, built right in the heart of the original Jackson Park, has been a positive anchor there and has not diminished the park's growth or access to it. Traffic flows nicely in nearby neighborhoods do not seem to be adversely affected. I could see the new proposed grade school from the Wood County schools on the other side of the hill as having a very positive impact on our community and becoming an anchor there also. I think it should be considered very much by the city council making a trade in going ahead with that plan. All the concerns that I hear, engineering or otherwise, and I'm not an engineering guy, I was a transportation guy, but I can feel that they can be addressed properly. If you look at elevation on Jackson Junior, which is now middle, you have the same kind of issues, you have the same kind of runoff, you have everything like that's concerned. So that can be taken care of with professional engineering people involved. Well, thank you very much, and Mr. Reisinger, nice tribute to him. Very good. Thank you very much.
Vicki Squires.
I'm Vicki Squires, 5 Ashwood Drive, Vienna. Good evening. And I'm just here basically to talk about Spencer's Landing and the steering committee. And I'm just curious, are there already people on a steering committee, or is this at the very beginning? Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Okay. I'm just curious as to whether there's already a steering committee that's being formed, or is that still at the very beginning and there's nobody on a steering committee yet?
Vicki, I know you don't come very often and speak, but this is your opportunity to speak. We typically don't engage you. This is your opportunity.
Okay.
So make your statement.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, okay, so I'm hearing that there is possibly a steering committee list already being formed. And if so, I'm curious as to how that is happening. But I am most concerned that I want to see just citizens of Vienna included in that committee, and not just a couple. I would like to say maybe half a dozen. And I've heard there is an application to apply for that, and I would be curious where you would pick that up. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So we move on with our agenda this evening. The minutes from the regular council meeting on July the 11th, 2024 have been printed, posted, and circulated. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If there are no objections, and the minutes will stand approved as posted. We move on to new business this evening. The first item this evening will be an update from our Public Works Director on the street paving and the schedule and other projects.
Yeah. A while back, we all talked about keeping you all updated, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to go over street paving projects that we've done and we're starting, I guess, that we bid out. I come to you last meeting, I asked you all to, here's the map. I feel that streets should be paved, and I asked you all's comments and get with me and say, hey, you want to do this one, that one, whatever. And great response. Each one of you all picked an excellent road. So here we go. We're going to start, start in the morning over to the Jackson Park. What we're going to do is Steve Black, his department, he had budgeted to upgrade his access road back to his garage. and pave the gravel lot adjacent to the dog park. So they are starting that in the morning. If y'all notice the map, it's not on there yet, is it? Sorry, my fault. So. Can y'all see it now?
It's one of those three ones behind you.
Huh?
Look behind you.
I didn't do that, so yes. But we all look at that screen over there. I can't look behind me, so I think that's interference with my fake body parts I got throughout my body. So, beginning Monday, 34th Street will begin paving, or actually milling the intersections, particularly along Grand Central up to 6th Avenue and the end section, the bridge section that crosses Pond Run. Then it'll come through and start doing an overlay on that road. So we will be posting the houses tomorrow and informing people they need to not park in the streets until the project's completed. Hopefully the weather holds out next week and we'll finish up 34th Street and we'll move up to 7th Avenue. The reason these two roads are being done first is obviously because of schools. It's real close to the existing schools. I want to get them done and get them kind of set in place and go on. So there is a road on here, which is 10th Avenue. It does need paved, but that is my last option road. I have to see where the money's coming in at on the rest of the projects. If I have the extra money, I'll pave 10th Street. From Grand Central, it's one is adjacent to Sam's. All right, so 12th Street, what we're doing is milling and paving the bad section of that road, which is what we call the turn lane into Sam's where the gas station is, real rough. We'll mill it out and pave it. Last week I presented the whole road, but after looking at our future projects in the sewer department, if that sewer main extension goes up through there and gets replaced, we'll be digging that section of road up, and there's no sense paving it and digging it up in a couple of years. The road's alligated, but it'll hold up for a couple more years. So 20th Street, again, it's a concrete section that's in terrible shape. We're going to pave it from Grand Central down to the existing asphalt. And there's a section here, it's what we call 24th and 25th Street. From 8th Avenue to 10th Avenue, it's concrete. It's also getting overlay. The concrete's deteriorated, pretty bad shape. Then the last one, besides 46th Street, is 28th Street. And that one, it's been a while since it's been paved. We were milling and repaving that at a base of 3 inches and 1 inch wearing course. So, and raising the catch basins and making it more drivable, okay? So that's for the street projects. Y'all have any questions on the streets?
Will you just, because it's hard for me to see that, will you just quickly say, okay, so we've got 34th Street, 10th Street, you said? Maybe? I just want to make a list real quick so that I can
Okay, let's start at the top. We'll do 46th Street from 3rd Avenue to Grand Central.
Okay.
7th Avenue from 41st to 44th.
Hold on. 7th Avenue from 41st
to 44th.
To 44th. Okay.
34th Street from Grand Central to the bridge. Past the bridge, actually, to the entrance of the community building.
Okay.
You have Jackson Park Road. It goes back to the garage complex and the dog park. You have 28th Street from 3rd Avenue to Grand Central.
Okay.
You have 8th Avenue from 27th to 28th.
Okay.
You have 24th Street and 25th Street from 10th Avenue to 8th Avenue.
10th Avenue to 8th Avenue.
Mm-hmm. 20th Street from Grand Central to the existing asphalt.
Okay.
You have 12th Street, and that is the turn lane going into Sam's gas station.
Okay.
Then you skip over to the right of the drawing. You have Woodland Drive, and that's from Ashwood to Forest Hills Drive.
Ashwood, Forest Hills.
And we have Valley View Drive from Woodland Drive to the Forest Hills Drive.
Valley View is
Yeah.
what to Forest Hills?
Valley View Drive from Woodland Drive to Forest Hills Drive.
Okay.
These will all be posted on the webpage, City of Vienna's webpage tomorrow and Facebook page.
Okay, excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
I had a question.
Sure.
The Jackson Park Drive, for some reason in my mind, I'm just thinking that came out of the parks budget.
It does, yes.
Okay.
That's why it says now Steve's department.
Okay, I didn't hear that part.
Yeah. I think you allowed $88,000 to do that job. It's going to cost a little more than that. So if you all want to give me extra money, I'll take it. So, or Steve can give me extra money. Let Steve do the budget revision, then roll over to my department. How's that?
All right. So just you gave us this last
Yes, ma'am.
meeting, and so I see this is in purple and it says for reference only. So that's what you mean. That's okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
because some of the pricing is, when we did that reference only on the pricing, it was kind of taken off of a very vague distance, and that's a calculation off the bid price. So when you got an actually field measure, it's going to add or subtract just different projects. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah. So, any other questions reference to street paving? Okay, let's go into just a couple of things we're going to talk about. The last one, I'm going to call some backup on, but
Craig, would you take that little box that's on the side of the building and turn that television off?
turn the television on.
Yes, sir. It's right there on the side of the podium.
Distracting, huh?
It's making you look much younger and thinner. I just.
Oh, sorry. Come on, baby. Probably need more help.
Looks like he has more hair too.
Yeah, see, I broke it now. I didn't want you to turn on. But yeah. Jeez. That's all it takes. It's not bad. We're going to talk about water department now. Then we'll get into some other issues.
So I
Uh,
got turn it back on.
Is it back on? Does this steer make me look good? So, no? Okay. I don't know why it's done that. So, that's not like the computer. Update on the water department. We had bid openings today on the wells 9 and 10 rehab. And what that is installing new pumps, rehabbing the wells, and painting the building, putting new roofs on them, and doing the electrical upgrade on that complex. Bids coming favorable. They just below engineer's estimate, so that's good. So hopefully the utility board will approve that, and we can start on that project. The only issue with that project is, you know, we always talk about delays, and sometimes things take a while to get done. If I ordered the main electrical panel today, 441 days it takes for that panel to come in. So there will be delay on the electrical upgrade. We're going to get an order of the product if utility board does accept it. But what I talked to the contractor, and we are going to go ahead and rehab the wells and install the new stainless steel submersible pumps. So we'll have the production good, but when the electrical panel comes in, they will, the building should be rehabbed, a new roof painted, but when the panel comes in, they'll shut the system down for a couple of days, install a new panel, and we'll finish up the electrical upgrade, but that's a year and a half out. Okay, so that seems to be the problem in all water and sewer projects. You like to do things, and there's always a delay on the products. Okay, the sewer, or one more thing about the meter upgrade or water department. I talked to Brenda this morning or today, and she did have a good question. We are in the middle of a water meter upgrade project, and I got 2 guys that's all going to afford to put on that particular job. But we've been at probably about a month and a half, and right now we're up to over 700 meters that we replaced. Just another 5,100 more, and we will be done. So, but we are working at it. The guys are good employees, are out and trying the best and doing the best they can. So, and what that network does, what that meters will do, they're actually cellular-based readers. So they go cellular up to the cloud. We download from the cloud and do our billing from it. We used to have a data collector system at each tank location. The data collectors we had issues with. The backbone system, get it back into this building, there was issues with. It was always constantly fighting. So with the cellular network, it's a much better performing system. So sewer system.
Wait a minute. Would you please remind everyone that there will be no interruption in water service because of the ability to balance the well fields?
When you're rehabbing the wells?
Well, actually, it will not be.
That's what he said.
I'm saying, would you remind everybody?
It will not be.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I'll do it for you.
Okay. You do that. Sorry, there will not be a disruption.
When we installed the water line on River Road, it gave us the ability to connect all of our water systems together. So no matter if we take wells 9 and 10 out of service, we will be able to simply switch some valves and the entire city will still be at 100% capacity for water supply.
Yep. Great. But also, one other thing too, we will not be shutting
How
both.
quick you take things for granted.
Hey, sometimes I'm slow. It's a TV screen. I told you, it's the fake body parts. Okay. But actually, when we do wells 9 and 10, when I spoke to the contractor, I told him I would not accept both wells being down at one time. So I'll always have one well running. And that's what we get production out of that well field. And we want to run one of those wells at a time. So that's a plus. So.
And I know you talked about the individual meters being replaced. If something happened and the cloud vaporized, that's not going to affect water delivery. It may affect billing, but it won't affect water delivery.
Nah, water goes through it. So we're in good shape.
Do you need any more help?
I got a reputation here. Would you like to come up and do it? Kim, you want to come up? Anybody else? Nah, we'll move on. Okay, how's that? Anything you want to talk about the sewer department, or okay? You told me one time in a meeting, you want to take this? Here it is. I didn't like it. So, sewer department. We are currently. We had a bid opening and accepted the SCADA upgrade. Our new SCADA system in the sewer department and upgrade in the water department. We accepted it last November. It is currently being installed in the water side. They have installed a new mag meters, which is the flow meters coming out of the well field. It gives you reading what the pumps are producing and what you're putting in the system. They were currently over 20 years old, so we're getting new ones of those in each well field. And the SCADA system, which we've never had in the sewer department, which, if y'all don't know what a SCADA system is, what that does is communicates with us if there's any issues with the lift stations. We currently have approximately 16 different types of lift stations throughout the city between sewer and stormwater. With the new SCADA system, if any of them lift stations just go down, it'll notify us. Our notification was hopefully the neighbor called when he seen the red light flashing. So it'll actually give it, the on-call individuals call their phone and say, you have an issue with pump, 19th Street. And so we can go out and address that issue before we get overflows. So I'm pretty pumped about that. It's a good system. So, and like I said, that's about it for the sewer system. We're still working on the 5-year plan on upgrades of the main lines and still working on the I&I issues. Okay, so that takes care of the main departments. Okay, and so we're going to go into this last one, and I'm going to there's some good things happening, and I want to talk to you all about it. Or let you all know. So Jack Mathers and Brody, you can come up and talk about what they are proposing. So I'll stand here and look pretty on the screens.
Yeah. So one of the things with Friends of Vienna that we got into, everything's been talked about here in the city about doing kayak launch in the area here, and it's been talked about for some time. Soon after we heard about Paddle Fest was going to be canceled, and we're tickled to death that it's back on again now, but we had kind of reached out to Craig, seeing what we could do. Brody had approached me and talked to me about, is there anything, man, we love kayaking on the river.
Hey, Jack, I'm sorry, but go ahead and introduce and explain who Brody is so that we know his role
in all of this. Well, I was going to let him do that himself, Jim, you know, so.
Yeah, you always want to know the players before the game starts.
So this is Brody Johnson, kayaker here. His dad owns I Don't Care Eatery up in Vienna. He's an avid kayaker. He's
lifelong resident of Vienna, live on 37th, live on 39th now. Make it very far.
Do you want to come to the microphone?
Sure.
You know, your turn's coming. But anyway, so all this was coming about, and we heard about the Paddle Fest canceled. So we were trying to figure out with Craig, you know, what could be done, what could we do. So there was we started looking at different things that could be done that would be at zero cost. What could Friends of Vienna, how could Friends of Vienna come in and play a role? As you know, we've got sponsorship levels that we do for the Freedom Festival. It's something that where people like to move up on sponsorship. And they have higher on the banner. You know, they've got their names larger. They put their logo on there. They put different things. So you know, it's something desirous. So we've worked something out. Do you want to talk about that, or how you want to handle that part?
Yeah, I can do that. Brody, if you want to tell me who you are, and go ahead and tell me your experience on a kayaker.
Okay. My name's Brody Johnson. I live on 39th Street in Vienna, lifelong Vienna resident. I've always been involved in the outdoors since I was a kid. Probably jack of all trades, master of none. You know, I do rock climbing, kayaking, backpacking. That's really what kind of drew me into kayaking, was that it gave me access. You know, it was places that I maybe couldn't get by trail, things like that. So plus I could carry more gear. And in that process, it allowed me to find other ways to create new adventures, extend adventures. And then I also found it as a great stress reliever. You know, in our state is, you know, I've traveled all over the place, and every time I tell them I'm from West Virginia, they always go, "What are you doing here? You're from like one of the best states on the planet," you know, to see these things. And so I really started doing a lot more kayaking, and I went to Paddle Fest the last couple of years and really enjoyed that event. It's something that's very different from the other types of adventure activities, because it's very good for entry-level people. You know, most of the stuff you try to get into, it takes a long time to build the skill set and to acquire the gear to do it. Where you can take somebody in an afternoon and take them kayaking and get them out there, and they can really enjoy it. And most of the time when I take people, you know, friends of mine that I've taken, they're hooked. They want to go, and it also has a relatively low cost, you know, as far as getting into it. A lot of things, you know, or you have expensive gear, and of course it's relative. I mean, you can pick up a used kayak for $50, or you can spend 10 grand, you know, just depending on what you want to do. Our location, I think, is ideal for a kayak launch because we've got the river, we've got the islands. You know, it's kind of funny. I saw a meme the other day talking about, you can tell when you're getting old because you start noticing birds. So I'm watching birds more, and it's funny when I get out in a kayak, I started going, I don't know if you've been to North Bend or not, but they filled that and they left the trees, and Woodburn Lake's the same way. So the trees are all nesting sites for birds. So I went out there to kayak, and I ended up being a birder, you know, and watching them and taking pictures and, you know, telling my wife about it. So, but I think it would be a great addition. You know, something that I think I've noticed a lot listening to Jim Justice, you know, references that, you know, tourism is the future of our state. And, you know, I know growing up here, I've seen, you know, plants and things leave. It's very different looking now than what it was then. And I think that, you know, these small steps, you know, having these events and these festivals and trying to develop the river and take advantage of that resource, I think that that's something that, you know, will benefit us down the road. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, talk about location, or you want to talk about the island, or? Okay. So we all know that in the past that we've had the grant that the state give us, or trying to give us, we still don't have the money for a kayak launch. We know that, you know, it's $280,000 the grant was. And when we had Bert Snipe do the feasibility study of a couple locations, it come in to do a proper kayak launch. It was, you know, almost $900,000 to make it handicap accessible. And that time, you know, we knew we couldn't afford it. So this is their design that Bert Snipe will give to us. Like I said, we have a $280,000 grant. We don't have it in hand. The state's still promising we don't have enough money for it yet. The engineering cost estimate on that particular launch area was down 12th Street, and it came in at $892,000. That's a lot of money, folks. You know, we know that we couldn't afford it this time until we get something else, either boat launch, fishing access, whatever. So when Jack was talking to me, he said, is there a location you could do if we could get something in, it was quick. And what I did was down 12th Street, next to our sewer plant, where Bert Snipe actually originally proposed it, there's a bank here, and I have pictures of it somewhere. This area right here, okay? The sewer plant's to your right. This is the bank. Of course, this is the river. There's an old boat ramp here, and it stops right here. This bank is high maintenance for the Public Works Department. We have to send guys in there. You know, it takes 4 guys to mow this bank. It takes a couple of days to do it. That's, you know, from here down to here to mow this and keep this upgraded. So we talked about, Jack's got a contractor. What we're going to do is going to come back here and start shaving this bank off and make this a slope that's accessible and walkable by most people. And when I say most people, that is, once I get this ramp in, from here down to this point here where the stake is, we can get that graded down to an 18% grade, okay? Which is, if y'all don't know what 18% grade is, most common boat ramp sitting at 16%. 88 requires to be at 12, right? So, so we can get it close. It's going to be a very mild grade. In this, we'd like to put a kayak launch right here, out in the water, and in that, to do that, you're going to be out in that water about 40 feet or 30 to 40 feet. Right now, the elevation river is at 582, and that is normal pool elevation. So, to do this project, Jack found somebody to do it. Friends of Vienna last night, they agreed to fund it. So this dirt work will be done no charge to the city. What I was going to do for the parking lot and the road access, which is this area here, this parking lot, and this road access, I was going to take the millings off the road. So I wouldn't have any expense of that. I was going to have them dumped down here. We could spread them out, make this road down through, like I said, 18%. Now, the only expense I would have is to build this concrete pier structure to attach the boat dock to, which is going to take about 10 yards of concrete. So we will absorb that cost in city-wise. But a couple of boat ramps we could look at, or boat docks. This is a boat dock, the kayak launch. This one is $32,000. That is a kayak launch that you can set in access. These are all examples of kayak launches that we can purchase. They vary between $2,000 to $3,000 to $4,000. That was $2,000. But most docks, like I said, run $32,000 to $48,000. I went out looking for a dock that we could possibly use for the rest of the summer. If I can find it now. And we found one. Okay. Now, Mr. Leach's dock, that's who that is, okay? He acquired this at a sale. That dock is 8 foot wide, all aluminum construction, 50 foot long, with a 35 foot gangway to it, which fits absolutely perfect down there. So he agreed to let us use this dock as a trial basis for the rest of summer and into the fall. So we'll be installing that down there. People can use it. The only thing that's lacking is a kayak launch. So I found some that would be suitable, and I went to my mechanic at work, and he always hates me for this when I say it, and I say, I had a dream. So that means that he's got to start fabricating stuff. So he is, we're working on fabricating a couple of simple kayak launches, just a pipe in the ground, loop system, put the kayak on top, sit down in it and take off. So we'll attach the side of this dock, minimal holes. Okay, we won't be drilling your dock all up, but super nice dock. Love to have it. Love that. Wish the city would have purchased that, but we didn't. Like I said, that's a huge dock system. We like to put down 12th Street, anchored in with the concrete, pick up guide wires on it, and have some type of little festival. And I'll let Jack take it from here because it's a great plan on these little festivals. So.
Well, one of the things we looked at, we found out there's quite a history with Neal Island there, an unbelievable history when you read about it. Also, some of the trees on there, the largest mulberry tree in the state of West Virginia, diameter-wise and crown-wise, is on there. The largest elm tree, sycamore tree, tallest pawpaw tree. Several different things. So I spoke with the Ohio River National Islands Refuge manager about being able to go on that island, look for those trees. So that's something that Brody and his group would be able to do. The only thing around the edge of the island is Japanese knotweed grows, which is considered invasive, but once you get through the knotweed, it opens up and you've got a canopy that shades out most of the stuff in that area. So I was going to go over and look for these trees, try to identify them. So it created something for kayakers to do when they hold their event. They can kayak over to that island. They can go around on the island and look for some of the stuff that we will have identified for them to do. We talked about putting some type of a festival, some type of a thing together to where there will be a night or an afternoon to where the kayakers can all get together down there. Brody mentioned that one of the things would be with this site that there would probably be a lot of beginning kayakers show up at it. And we talked and that it would be a great thing for some type of schooling, some type of training, some type of thing that they would be willing to put on there for kayakers to come up and they could get information lessons on kayaking and everything. And then see what we put together. If we need to have food trucks or we had porta-johns or whatever, everything that we can put together. So that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, just one more thing. Just keep in mind, folks, this is no cost to the city, and this is a trial basis, and I think it's a great thing. Gets people on the river, lets them play around. It's great for public works because now I can mow I'll mow this bank with a mower instead of sticking 4 guys down as weed eaters. So there'll still be fishing access down on that point. If you all ever go down at nighttime, usually the bank's lined with fishermen. So we're not restricting that any. They can steer fish down there. But it's my opinion. I hope you all feel the same way, to be honest with you. I hope you feel it's a win-win for everybody. Won't be handicap accessible, but it'll give you something to look at and kind of get some ideas for future, what we need to do. Okay? And that's all this is about. Okay, y'all have any questions?
Yeah, I have several questions.
Sure.
This is really, I mean, broad-sided by this.
Yeah.
We are getting ready to enter into an agreement with Thrasher to
Correct.
do this.
Well, like I said, this is temporary basis.
No, I know, I understand. I
Yeah.
hear you. I'm just
Yeah.
saying. Adjusting the bank and the grade there, have we talked with the Army Corps of Engineers?
I have.
Did they
And they said it
approve
was,
that?
I know there's a floodway issues, and the dock permit's already done. I did that. It's been done for a while. I got
Yeah.
the permit numbers on the thing. On the reference to the banking system, since I'm cutting it out, I'm just kind of leveling the area out, actually moving the bank back, the top of the bank back. So there's no obstructions to the floodway, and their directions were, if is approved by the floodplain manager, they're okay with it.
And has the floodplain manager approved it?
Yes, I have.
So that's perfectly fine. I guess it is a little bit concerning to me that we have a flap grant and funds to do this properly. I know you said making it ADA accessible is really important. I mean, that was a huge aspect of that. ADA accessibility is actually 8% grade.
Okay.
So we're talking about more than double.
Correct.
So it's not really ADA accessible.
Never said it was. So.
I know.
Yeah.
Which, you know, kind of, I know this, and this is all trial basis, and that's fine. I just, why are we talking about this now? I feel like we could have done this a while ago, maybe, but I don't even really know what to ask, because this is just such a broadside for us. I mean, I am an avid outdoors person too. I love being outdoors and kayaking and climbing, so I appreciate your interest in that, and I appreciate you willing to be involved with, you know, trying to make things happen in the city. You know, I would hate to do something here that would then stymie us from being able to like actually do something in the future with this property. I really, you know, we can redneck this thing as much as we want, and that's fine, but at the end of the day, is it going to like ultimately impact how 12th Street and that property there works? And is there a plan in place to put in a permanent kayak launch? And if so, why not just do that?
5 grants, 280,000, 892,000 to it. And gotta keep in mind, Chris, as a public works side, and I get a bank that I can maintain. Okay, and like I said, this is temporary. If you all don't want to do it, that's why we're here. If you don't want to do it, just tell me. We'll pull out of it, and then 98% of the people won't get the kayak on there. Okay, so it's your choice. So.
Okay. Well, it doesn't really sound like it's our choice. It sounds like this was something that's already, is this going to come to council for approval?
So we're here to present it.
Or does it just happen?
I was kind of hoping you guys like it. If you don't, then you say you think it's a bad idea. So.
I have a comment if you're.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
I'm not comfortable with it, I'll say that, but.
So, yeah, Craig came to me a week ago,
Yeah.
or he called me, and he said, man, I'm looking for a couple docks to, you know, to try something. And I said, well, I'm not planning on putting this in this year. The nice thing about this is, like I said, it's actually 39-foot gangway, 50-foot all aluminum dock, which I'm going to use beginning next year, I expect. You know, but, you know, when we started talking about this kayak launch, okay, and I thought the flap grant was $350.
Well, I don't know where he's getting to, 290, it is 300.
Okay, that's 280. It's what?
300.
Anyone remember?
It's $350 with our 20%.
Okay, yeah, so, right, so in any event, so So you're not planning on using any flap grant funds, no
Absolutely
match.
not.
You're talking about 10 yards of concrete, right? So, Friends of Vienna and Brody are talking about giving some people some access. And all the time I've been on council, I've said that, the question is, and we've talked about, and you look at the Thrasher plan, and you talk about the phasing and the master plan and the phasing of everything. This is you can call it rednecking it. I feel quite confident that Craig would do this right as a temporary installation. So I don't really know what I think about that term.
That's fair. I mean, that might have been a poor choice of words.
But in any event, so this gives an opportunity, and I'll use this pun to test the water a little bit. What kind of reaction, what kind of opportunity? Because like the bank with the fishing, and if he gets that to 18%, nobody's trying to make this an ADA compliant. There's just no possibility of doing that. And if you'll remember, when we got this proposal from Burgess and Nipel for this kayak launch, I went through the roof. I said, no way. This is ridiculous. And I couldn't believe we spent the money on the plan, to tell you the truth, on what we ended up getting. I wasn't happy about it. Because and this is downriver from where they're talking about, and the way that correct me if I'm wrong, Craig, but my understanding is that the fall away of the bank or of the riverbed is much faster. And so that 39 feet he's talking, or 35 feet, will get you out to where you can launch. So I think, with the opportunity to, if he's got a plan to make that bank mobile, right, which is always a challenge on the river, okay? And Jack had mentioned the Chinese knotweed, a very invasive plant, that everywhere, anybody that has river property, you fight that and fight it and fight it. And keeping that off there, because you can't, once it gets established, it's not mowable. You can't even really handle it with a weed eater. I mean, you got to have a blade. It's a tubular plant. And anyway, so I, as I said, this is the concept that's been developed by Craig to serve a dual purpose of getting that bank manageable for the city to maintain, give an opportunity for our citizens to have a little taste of what it might be like. Because you're basically talking about coming down there, you're going to have to be, I don't think you're going to have to be quite like Brody, okay, but you're going to have some ability to do that. There's no question. It's a pretty simple concept, so I don't, what's the harm? To give people an opportunity to see, and also, I mean, and this goes back to the phasing thing I was said. I have always said, invest in things that people use. There's nothing worse than seeing a facility or something built that just is empty. And we're all talking about all this development, all this riverfront, and all these opportunities. And this would give us an opportunity to see how our folks respond to it. So, I mean, I'm, and that's why I said, when he came to me and he said, you got something I can use? I said, I'll figure whatever I got, you can use. So that's my opinion.
I just want to follow up really quick. Rednecking, I'm a redneck too. And I don't doubt your ability to fabricate something and make sure it's safe for our community there. To be honest, I don't know how I feel about this yet. This is the first time we've heard it, at least most of us. So I don't want to say no, but I definitely can't say yes tonight on feeling confident in that this is okay. But
it's not on the agenda tonight.
Yeah.
This is just a presentation.
This is one of your opinions. So.
Just do it. I don't think they can do that. They can't just do it. You can't just do it, right?
Huh?
You'll just do it, right? I mean, you're not asking for our permission.
I want your opinion.
There's a difference between opinion and
Opinion means a lot to me. So, I mean, you guys sit there and tell me you don't think it's a good idea, we don't do it. You think it's a good idea, it's the zero cost of the city, a bit of work, man hours, we'll put it in. If you don't, we don't.
I have a few questions. Okay, timeline-wise, what are you, if you're feeling comfortable with this, if this proceeds from here, whether we're voting on it or not, what are you talking about? And Brody, are you talking about you have an actual event or a weekend or a season sometime? Are you looking at this fall, later this? How quickly could this come to fruition?
I'm not sure on the time frame. I know that we discussed maybe once it was completed, maybe having a small.
Okay, so there isn't an event necessarily planned yet. We're just saying hey, once it's done, we're going to say, hey, everybody come on out. This is the first I've heard of it also, but I really like kind of what Jim was saying, like, let's test it out. And I like you saying it's a trial basis. We're not putting anything in, the dock isn't, we're not, yeah, the dock isn't ours. I know that we want to be able to have a really nice facility, and we've talked about this and talked about it with the kayak launch. And we can go all the way and have a fantastic thing once the money comes in and once we see if other funding streams come in for it. But being able to give, I think you said it's probably not a rough estimate even, but we have a majority of people who could use it, and we're not giving them an opportunity to do that if we're just waiting to be able to spend $1 million on a project like this. So I am very much in favor of saying, let's continue to serve the majority of people, and we're working towards being able to serve all. And this does give us a trial run, really, to see, I said, if this is a really big hit, and we might say, you know what, we weren't dreaming big enough before. We might actually need to do more in that area or something.
Or smaller.
So, yeah, and there are going to be things that we're going to discover along the way, whether it's, paths on Neil Island or what kind of feedback you're going to get from the people that actually come and utilize that space. That would be valuable information for actually going with a big project. But as long as it's done legally and safely and all of those things, and it's not a major expense, I think it's a no-brainer, because it's serving a group of people that we've been talking about doing for a long time. Another question. So you said that so we're borrowing the dock, and Public Works or Friends of Vienna is paying to have the grading done, right? Mm-hmm. Remind me the ramp going down and the cost of the concrete for the anchor and stuff.
Yeah, the ramp in the parking lot area would be from road millings that we're going to be milling off the road, so there's no cost.
Oh, okay, the ramp would be the millings also. Okay, and then you said the pier or the
piers. I would want to build a concrete structure just to make sure the dock stays in place.
Okay, and
I don't think I can afford to replace his dock. Okay, so
so
if I let it flow downstream, that's
right. Yeah, we don't want to do that. No. But I mean, roughly, what are we talking about cost?
10 yards of concrete, so it's $195 a yard. So.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm very comfortable with that, and knowing the level of professionalism and things that you guys do and skill that you guys have in your department, I know that it would be done well. And being the floodplain manager, you're cognizant of all that stuff. So yeah. I'm really comfortable with that. And just seeing this is the first step to see what else this may lead into. So I think it's awesome too that Friends of Vienna is willing to, put up some of that to invest in the city to make that possible. So.
And I did agree that I'll put the dock and the gang in and take it down, and then I'll take it out at the end of the season. So the city won't have to do that.
Okay, so are you finished?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I'm a little shocked tonight too, like Chris, So let's just review. 4 years ago at election time, we had the talk of a kayak launch in the FLAP grant, and we were awarded that.
Yes. We haven't got it, but we were awarded.
Well, I understand. We've been awarded it. They haven't put the money in the bank account, but we
don't have it in the bank account.
That's what I said. We don't have the money in the bank account, but we have. That's okay. I couldn't hear earlier myself. So, but we've been awarded the FLAP grant. So at some point in time, we anticipate we're going to get that money.
Mm-hmm.
So when that happened, it was a big deal, and people are very, very excited about a kayak launch and have been excited about it for years. People have messaged me. I'm not a kayaker. I don't know anything about it, but I've met a lot of kayakers in the last 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, I was with Brody. I think you were a part of the Matrix group when we selected Burgess and Eiffel. You sat in, so I appreciate your knowledge and experience. But what bothers me here tonight, and bothers me a lot, is the fact that we are going to compromise and not make something ADA compliant. Because you keep talking to me about it's temporary. We want to see, what the community thinks. they're going to like it. I can tell you right now, the community's going to like it. People wanted this for so long, and now we haven't been able to do this for whatever reason for the last 4 years. And I know you're telling me the money's not there, but we don't even have a plan. What are we saying about the city of Vienna about ADA compliant? Because we missed the mark at the pool, okay? And I will say this forever. Dipping people into the pool using a chair that, people are able to self-direct into the pool and back out is a lack of dignity. We should have never done that. And so now we're saying, hey, we're going to come up with this temporary kayak launch. And so those people that wanted it, who are ADA compliant, you don't have to have the use of a wheelchair or some mobility device to get down to use that. I don't use that. I have issues with my knees. And so I just said I don't kayak, but there are lots of people that do. And so we're not meeting the mark here. And so I'm very frustrated by that, because I don't want Vienna to get I don't want people to get the impression in Vienna that we don't care about that, because I know I do, I know other people do. And as a community, we need to center people and make sure that we're doing things the right way. I could appreciate kind of what you guys are trying to do. Call me a little bit suspect of it, because we could have been doing something like this for a long time ago. I don't feel comfortable just going ahead with this. And I know you're saying like 10 yards of concrete is what the expense to the city would be. But as Mr. Mancuso pointed out, you're going to be altering the bank. What does that mean? Further down the road when we do start development, we're going to consider the Thrasher proposal tonight, which is also looking at that property. So, and you have not provided anything to us. I see you have renderings, drawings, all of that stuff. It hasn't been provided to us, and we didn't even have a chance to review any of it. So it's kind of like, surprise, here we are. And I just think that's extremely unfair. And I could appreciate what you're trying to do, but I think that we're missing stuff with the ADA compliance.
Yeah, I agree about the ADA. I mean, I'm not denying that. And trust me, like I said, I could use the ADA ramp, okay? But
I'm a person who
if you don't want to do this project here, I mean, let's do this one. I have no issue with that. I mean, if you want to do the ADA ramp, we'll do it. I'm just trying to make it accessible to a lot of people that.
We could have done this years ago to make it accessible to a lot of people, but that if we didn't want the ADA part of it, which I think is essential. Okay. Especially because I don't like the reputation that Vienna gets for what we did at the pool. Because, I've talked to a lot of people since then who were very upset about that.
Okay. Well, that's just here to get y'all's opinion. So.
Can we have copies of, all that, please?
Yeah.
Your drawings, plan.
Well, I think you already have copies. That is correct.
That's the original Burgess and Eiffel one?
Mm-hmm.
What, do you have any plans for how you're going to alter the bank now that, a document you can provide to us?
Do you want the grades? You want me to draw you the grades up? Is that what you want?
Well, I assume you have that already mocked up in some way, since if you want to start on this.
Yeah. It's
It takes a transit and a dozer, and you just start.
I think Mr. Mancuso had a word for that.
Yeah, I understand. This bank right here is
just a second, Craig.
You can.
I want to know, I think if we see this more as a temporary fix towards the future plan of actually putting something in that is ADA compliant, I don't see the problem, because we're going to have a lot of usage to be able to say, okay, is this a good spot for it? Are people responding to it? It's like, well, we thought people would show up, but they're not really. And I mean, I think a percentage, whether you're whether you're dependent on a device or not, or just have bad knees, regardless, I still think we have a majority of able-bodied people that would be able to almost be like a pool of people that we can pull from. We're able to see. It's like a test. We're just running a test to see how this is going to go, and at some point we will do that.
Well, yeah, that's my point. Once this gets installed, even if it's a temporary basis, that will be good enough, and we will never get an ADA compliant.
And that's not the plan. That's not, I mean, you say that because that's what you want to say, but that's not the way it's going to go. We're still waiting on this FLAP grant. When that comes in, that's what that's going to go towards. So that's ridiculous and careless to say that, but we would never do it. This would be a temporary thing. I also take a lot of issue with the ADA compliance in the pool.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I sure do. It's very compliant, and it doesn't take away dignity. And I had to make sure I expressed my displeasure there. But I'm just saying that with this temporary project, we can give access to a lot of people. I mean, this is not showing any disrespect at all to anybody who is dependent on a device of some sort. But if we have 1, 2, 5% of our population, we're not going to move forward on anything until it's ADA compliant. Is that what we're saying? Because then we're talking about having to wait on major funding source. Everything becomes, a $500,000 or $1 million project, and we can slowly work up to that and save towards that. And maybe if we have something temporary like this put in, it generates more excitement and more support and more people that would want to give or donate or whatever it is towards the super duper thing for everybody. And there would be even less skin in the game for the city. The city would have to put forward less money because we would already know that it works.
Greg, before you leave, I had an opportunity about 2 weeks ago to go down to the city of Parkersburg and look at the kayak launch that they have down there. And their kayak launch is off the cul-de-sac behind the flood wall, and it goes straight downhill with large stones. And at the bottom, they have a dock, and so they launch kayaks off that. Now, they don't appear to have a lot of money in that project, whatever the cost of the dock was and some stone. And so you and I and Burgess and Nipel have moved up and down that river trying to find a place to put this thing in. And so when you look at this and the opportunity that we have for the ability to use Jim's docking ramp, which is fabulous, and then to use the grinding off the road paving projects, which are going to start immediately, and already having the permit because you've had it, through the Corps of Engineers.
A year and a half of that.
This is one of those things right there where, no, we're not going to spend $900,000 to put a kayak launch in, but we'll have a couple $1,000s in it and then some labor. And so to put this project in place and have that really super dock so that people can, kayak off of it, do whatever. For me, it's a no-brainer. You don't get opportunities like this where you actually get to put a facility in and then test it. The money that's down there with Jim's dock, if it works, then we can put it in next year's budget and we can figure out how to improve on this. But the improvements that you want to make to the bank down there, if nothing else, will allow you to more efficiently use your manpower to mow that bank and do all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay? I do not see a downside to this whatsoever. And if we have the ability to do this, which we obviously do, then we should do this. I think it's something that the community has wanted for a long time. And the fact that Brody and Jack and the Friends of Vienna have made some arrangements for the extra costs, I don't see the downside to this. I just don't.
Yeah, it's a $10,000 dirt job that they got donation for. I'd never be able to afford that, to do that. I lose my voice. Sorry, it's a head cold. But yeah, I just want to come and talk to y'all about it tonight. And I was kind of, you'd say, well, hey, what a great idea. And I understand your positions on certain things. And trust me, I'd love to make ADA compliant. We can't right now, not with the money that we have. So I'm just trying to get some people out in the river to make it enjoyable for them too. So, but I kind of hope one full pool, out of all of you. So if you guys are out of positions, that's fine. We don't do it. We don't have to do it. Unfortunately, we can wait and wait until what Thrasher says and hopefully get a bunch more grants and build the ADA compliant ramp. And I would love to see that. I really would. But I'm on vacation next week. If you all want to change your mind next council meeting, let me know. We'll do it. For some of the offers still on the table, we'll do it. If we don't, then we won't. But just like I said, I'm just trying to help people that kayak, and I don't kayak, but I don't even john boat anymore. So I mean, I don't speedboat or pontoon or anything. But
can we go ahead and have this? I mean, on the agenda for the next time as a resolution, to the project, and detail out, the contributions and the amount the city would have, and all of that. So give us as much detail as possible. I think it would be helpful to have it as a resolution, so that way we can make a decision on it.
Yeah, we'll work.
Is that okay?
Who was that you worked with?
No problem.
Up in Williamstown, what was the name of him?
Well, I got to think of his name right now. It was Elam.
Victor.
What?
Victor Elam.
Oh, Victor Elam up in Williamstown. Yeah, no relation.
Okay.
Right,
All right, Craig. We'll take it up again.
Right now, they're on Buckley Island making trails and opening that up for kayakers up there. And then they haven't got down to Neal yet, but I'd love to see them trees. I've never seen state record, pawpaw tree or mulberry tree. I think it'd be cool to see.
You've got bald eagles in.
The sycamore they're referring to is actually the bald eagle's nest tree. So, but.
All right. Thank you, Greg.
All right.
Rudy, thank you. Jack, thank you.
Excellent.
Thanks.
So we're ready to move on with our agenda this evening, and I honestly, I would like to change the order on the agenda, okay? I would like to move item number 5 up to now, because I have a feeling that we're going to spend some time with 3 and 4. Are there any objections to moving item 5 up now? All right. Item 5 is a resolution to change the position of Vienna Senior Center Clerk from a part-time position to a full-time position. This resolution is mine. And the reason why it's titled Senior Center Clerk is because it's a C1 position. And so at last year's budget, there was some discussion about making it a full-time position. And when I had various discussions with the department head up there, she was not in favor of that. And so I agreed with her because we didn't do activities on Friday. And so now we've got a plan in place to where we're going to bring activities back to the senior center. We had the first one last Friday. Chief Powell and one of our detectives, Ryan Black, came up and made a really nice presentation to the seniors about senior fraud. I thought it was exceptionally informative, and it was well attended. I think we had about 40 people there, so there's obviously some interest in doing activities on Friday. What brought all of this about was we had a major water leak at the senior center 3 weeks ago. And so when I was called to go up there and see the situation, the ceiling had collapsed. Right above the senior lunchroom, there is a restroom, and in that toilet in that second floor bathroom had an issue. And so it took the ceiling out. And because that is a fire rated double drywall ceiling, it was very time consuming to fix that problem. It was one heck of a mess. I mean, that stuff was everywhere. And so when I got up there with Craig, we figured out what the problem was. and there was a repair crew called in, and there was some out of normal hours work that was required to be done. And so, and she's with us this evening. Liz, if you'd stand up or whatever. This is Liz Amperian. Okay? Liz absolutely stepped up and took whatever responsibility there was to get the senior center repaired and back open as fast as possible. And so I just have to say she impressed me. There was never a question that whatever it took, and the crew wanted to come in at 6 o'clock in the morning to get an early start, I didn't even ask her. And she said, I'll be here. And she was. And so because of that, in today's times, you don't find a lot of employees that are willing to do the extra mile to get things done. And so with her help and with the crew coming in, we got the senior center back repaired, so you can't really tell it was ever damaged in 3 days. Okay? The ceiling tiles look brand new. I mean, everything that was done was really good. And so we've got an opportunity now to open the senior center back up on Fridays, to do some lunch and learns. The next one's scheduled for August the 16th. The library is going to come up and explain all the features that they can do. And the seniors put in a request for some specific things, and they've got all of that lined out now. So, there'll be another event. And then as we go through the rest of the year, we're going to have people that talk about estates and people that talk about health insurance and various topics that are very informative to seniors. And so we think that we can fill the Friday time slot. And I personally have a lot of confidence in Liz that she can run the entire facility. All right. Linda's out of town a lot. And so it's kind of fallen on Liz anyway. But for her to step up and take that on. And so that's the reason why the resolution is on there. And so let me find item 5 in here. So this is a resolution to change the position of Vienna Senior Center Clerk from a part-time position to a full-time position. Be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Vienna that it hereby reclassifies the position of Vienna Senior Center Clerk, a C1 clerk position, from part-time to full-time as defined by the Vienna Employee Personnel Policy. With its reclassification, it will be a full-time hourly position with benefits. So, as I said earlier, when we did the budget, there was not money included to take care of the benefits and the extra hours. And so item number 6 is the general fund budget revision number 1, which will allocate those monies that are required to bring that up to a full-time position. So I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution to change the position of Vienna Senior Center Clerk from a part-time position to a full-time position.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution. Is there any further discussion?
I'd like to make a comment. I'm very excited about this. I'm very, very excited about this. And I've talked to many seniors who are very excited about looking at them. They're smiling in the front row. And a lot of you folks came out. You advocated for this. You spoke to the mayor about it. And Mayor, I appreciate you listening and making this happen. Liz impresses, she impresses me and obviously the seniors too. And I'm glad she's impressed you as well. I also want to thank you for that first lunch and learn. You had the most terrific idea of having our new police chief, Carl Powell, come and speak to the seniors, which I think was great. They got to learn about scams that they get targeted for. And they also, most importantly, got to meet the new police chief and also Ryan Black. So I attended that. It was a very successful luncheon. I look forward to many more. I think we're on the right track, and I just want to express my gratitude for that. So thank you.
Is there any further discussion? And I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the resolution to change the position of Vienna Senior Center Clerk from a part-time position to a full-time position, please signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. All right. Liz, I think you earned it. Okay. You can usually tell the character of someone when things fall apart. And trust me, that mess that came out of that ceiling was a mess.
If anybody wants to see the video, I've got it.
Okay. All right. So, I guess we'll go back. Well, since we altered the agenda already, let's just go to 6 and get it over with. All right. Item number 6 this evening is a general fund budget revision number 1. Mr. Leach, would you take us through that, please?
General fund budget revision number 1, line item 1, line item for the pool 54258 salaries, pool change order number 6, current budget 0, increase in that budget $4,483 for a total revised budget of $4,483. Line item number 2, the senior center line item, lines 905, 3, 4, and 5 for salaries, FICA, and group insurance to move part-time employee to full-time beginning on August. First line item budget is 116,366 for salaries, increase of $1,950. New budget $118,316. Second line item for FICA is currently $8,910 for the senior center, increased by $150 to $9,060. Item 3, 90505 for group insurance. Current line item budget is $13,055, increased $25,000. New budget line item $38,055. Next line item for library, 55368, a contribution increase due to incorrect calculation of library proceeds. Current budget $411,450, increased by $4,330. New budget $415,780. And the line items for these are from contingencies. Line item 669 to cover the above revisions. Current budget $175,000. Debit $35,913. New budget line item $139,087.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of general fund budget revision number 1.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve general fund budget revision number 1. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of general fund budget revision number 1, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimous. We can pay you now, Liz. Okay. All right. So let's go back to item number 3. Well, no, we're going to go back to item number 2. Item number 2 is a resolution declaring a City of Vienna council member position vacant. Be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Vienna that the office of council member held by the Honorable Thomas A. Azinger is declared vacant upon his passing July the 13th, 2024. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution declaring a City of Vienna council member position vacant.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution. Is there any further discussion?
I have a question. Are we going to discuss how we're going to fill the position?
After we declare it vacant.
Okay, but we will have that discussion.
Right now.
Okay,
as soon as
all
we
right,
vote.
all right. That's all I care.
Okay. All right. If there's no further discussion, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the resolution declaring a City of Vienna council member position vacant, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. I'm not sure that we'll be able to find someone that can fill the shoes that Tom Azinger occupied for his many, many years of service, but we will do our best. Obviously, the filling of this vacant seat will only apply until the November 5th election, and so this will be a temporary position, but we need an odd number, so we will fill this position. At the next council meeting, we will have it on the ballot or on the agenda to fill that temporary position. So anyone that has an interest in serving as a temporary council member for the 8 scheduled council meetings, please call the city. We'll make sure that Mrs. Elam gets that list, and then we will submit those names, and we will select a new replacement council member from that list at the next council meeting. All right?
Question.
Depending on how many we get, we may have to have a meeting to select 3 candidates to submit to council. It just depends on how many people apply for that job, so, all right? If, we will have to sort them.
Just a question, Mayor. So with this, the appointment, that will be until the new council takes their seats, not the election, correct?
To the unexpired term.
It will be to the
full
end of the
term
year.
Until.
Because you don't get sworn in until January.
Right, okay.
So he'll have to, whoever it is will have to fill out the seat November and December, and then take over in January.
Ready for me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I was just curious as to why we had to do this, unfortunately, one other time before, and circumstances were different, and it was just a different thing altogether. But I thought the process went pretty well, where people, made notice of that at the city building, and that we actually had an agenda where folks came and we sort of interviewed them, and then we did it all in the public view, and so the public had a chance to see the character of the folks that are wanting to apply. And then we voted on it that evening. And so I'm curious as to why, and I know you don't know how many people may or may not, apply for this, but I'm curious as to why we won't do it that way.
I think we passed an ordinance in 2021 to deal with the issue because our ordinances didn't specifically address it. They deferred to state code. We have 2 ways to replace council members. There's a procedure for going through for temporary replacement to fill the end of an expired term. And then there's a procedure that you go to if you want to put somebody on the ballot. The procedure that we have to go through on the ballot is probably unnecessary at this point because we have an election in November. Mr. Azinger's seat, if you recall, Mr. Azinger wasn't running for re-election, so his seat was going to be contested anyway. My recommendation is to do it for temporary replacement. I have a resolution that we drafted. I think this will be the 3rd time that I've dealt with replacing a member of council for whatever reason. Council, the first step in either of the procedures is the council has to declare the council position vacant. Within 30 days of the vacancy, council through the mayor's office solicits applications. The candidates have to be have the same qualifications that you do to sit in any office for the city of Vienna. Means you have to be a qualified voter who's entitled to vote in city elections, and you have to be a resident of the city of Vienna. We have to hold those solicitations open for a period of 14 days, including weekends and holidays. What the procedure that we put in place last time was you get a certificate of candidacy from the recorder. You fill it out just the same as you would running for office, if you were running for office. That's essentially a form of an application. You do not have to have filing fees. When you run for council, you have to do filing fees. I guess council thought it was unfair that you would have filing fees if you're coming in to do something temporarily and you're volunteering for it. After the solicitation of candidates closed, 7 days after, council interviews the candidates in whatever fashion they choose. So council has to interview the candidates, and I think the mayor was getting to that. And then after council interviews the candidates, council appoints 1 candidate to finish the unexpired term. As I said, I have a resolution from last time that needs really the dates put in as to how we're going to do it, that council approved the last time we had to fill a vacant seat. So I hope that answers your question. But I left it, or when this ordinance was adopted by council, the form and fashion in which the interview process took place was left fairly broad so that council could decide how each council thought best on how they wanted to handle the interview process. My recommendation, for what it's worth, is that you just do the procedure that you did last time. Most of you know how to do it, but that's not my decision. But that is, in summation, briefly, the procedure.
Okay, I have a question because it kind of lost me along the way there because you added a lot of information, which is kind of helpful, so I appreciate that part. So we will be interviewing candidates?
I don't think you have a choice. The ordinance says The ordinance says,
Can you tell me what ordinance number that is so I can look
I think
that up?
it's 111, it's either, I think it's 111 or 103. No, it's 11108, I believe. When I bullet pointed this, I probably should have written that down.
While he's looking for that, there is one other factor.
Okay.
Actually, two. It's 14 days
Right.
is the window, so 14 days would be the next council meeting. The second thing is, no one that is going to be on the ballot in November will be considered. That would be an unfair advantage, and so they will not be part of the mix. Okay?
So then, you said, 14 days from now is how long the filing period is open, correct?
I'm sorry, and I did give a lot of information. Council, the first step is to declare the position vacant, which has been done tonight. Within 30 days of the vacancy, council has to pass a resolution soliciting applications. So at the next meeting, you're going to put a resolution on there. My suggestion is, because the time frame is what it is that you put a resolution on there and you say how it is that you intend to conduct the interviews. But you have 30 days for the vacancy, once the vacancy comes open, to solicit for the replacements. Then you have to hold the window open for the solicitation for 14 days. And then at the end of the 14 days, then you set the time for your interviews.
Okay, so then so we're
you have 30
really,
days from tonight. Right, you have 30 days from tonight to pass a resolution that says how you're going to fill the position.
which we'll do on August 8th.
Yeah, and if you're going to do it by election or by appointment, you have to have the window open for the applicants to come in for 14 days.
Okay.
At the end of the 14 days, then you schedule your interviews. Now, you could do it on the 15th day. I don't necessarily recommend that because unless you put something in the resolution that specifically says they have to be postmarked by a specific date, but even then, you're going to have 2 or 3 days, with the mail coming in and so forth, that you want to make sure you're in good shape and you get all your candidates. So you have 30 days from today, to pass a resolution. Once the resolution saying that how you're going to do it is passed, you have 14 days to accept the applications that are be solicited. They'll be turned into the mayor's office. They would be turned into the mayor's office if council decides to do it this way. And then after the 14 days, that's the cutoff period, and then you set interviews.
Okay, so then we're really looking at whoever it is isn't going to be they're not going to serve in August at all because we'll have to have the resolution in order to solicit to start the clock on taking in applications. That will be on August 8th. 14 days later is our second meeting of August. And so the next day we could do the interviews we could always do a special meeting, right? If we almost need to do a special meeting so that somebody can serve, if we did a special meeting that last week of August or something to actually do the selection, right? You said to schedule the interviews.
Yeah.
Is that the same?
Within 7 days, and I'm sorry I didn't say this, within 7 days of closing the solicitation, that's when you have to interview the candidates.
Okay, so that following week, we could interview them. Well, you don't want to have a special meeting on a Friday, but we could have a special meeting the last week of August, is right? I mean, I'm looking at my calendar here, so that would be within 7 days. It would have to be either the 26th, 27th, 28th, or 29th.
We have to build a notice into this, right? It's the meeting agenda notice.
Yeah, you have to have,
So,
you have to
that's my
notice it like
question.
you do, you have to notice it like you do any, but you can,
We don't have to list who the candidates are, correct? We can just say
we did the last time,
Did
but we
we?
have the
Okay.
time frame to do it. And it's 11108 if you want to look at it. It was passed in 2021, I
Thank
believe.
you.
Yeah, December 2021.
Okay. Okay, then we would have to have the notice. So if I noticed it on that day, so it'd be 1, 2, 3. So we could do it on that Tuesday because I could put the notice out. Well, for special meetings, 2 days. It's still fine. I mean, if we put it out if we notice it on the 23rd and it's a special meeting, you only have to have 2 days. So the 27th. Well, really the 23rd because it counts the 23rd, 26th. So it's still, the notice requirements are still fine. because I would have the names and we'd be able to
So
put them
what
in
would
there.
be the date?
I'd say we do a Monday or Tuesday, whatever.
What day was the date?
25th and 26th, or 26th and 27th of August would be the interview days. The 29th is a Thursday. That could also work. I would just notice it 2 days before that. So Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday of that week keeps us in that 7-day window that we have to do the interviews, and I'll notice it accordingly. And then that person will be able to serve all of September, October, November, and December. Do we want to pick the day that we're going to do it in August, at the end of August for the interviews, or do we need
Okay.
everybody check their
So,
calendars?
Time out.
That's fine.
You're the chief elections officer for the city as the recorder. All right. You need to get with Mr. Skogstad and work out all of these particular things. Once you decide on a temporary date, then you need to poll council to see if we can even get a quorum.
Okay.
All right. Once you determine that there is a council, that there will be a quorum of council, then set the date.
Okay.
All right. Because they'll let you know if they're going to be out of town or whatever happens. All right. But just, you're in
fine.
charge.
That's
You're
fine.
working out, Russell.
I think we're
Eagle.
just trying to make sure that we understand the process and the days and what's happening when. So I think we've got that
All right.
that figured out. Thank you.
All right.
So the next meeting, we will have the resolution to solicit the people. And at that point, then, for the public to know, then I will, it won't be until then, but I'll put out the certificate of announcements at the desk out here at the front desk, and they can be picked up at that point.
And if you don't care to go in, you can get it off wbsos.com.
Yeah.
.gov.
Yeah, we'll put that out there for everybody.
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right.
Can we take a 5-minute break?
Take a break. Yes, sir. 5 minutes. Very good.